What do you fantasize about regularly that doesn't involve sex or getting rich? I wish every night that I could be a space explorer, an astronaut, anything involving space, being able to play any piece of music on any instrument at a professional level, having the ability to pause time. Op said no sex, having some kind of dragon kind wings on my back. I really want to fly. Why did I have to scroll down this far to find this? Especially on a warm, breezy day. I'll extend my arms out and imagine that the wind flowing over them is flowing over my wings 100 or so feet up. When I'm a passenger on road trips, I imagine that I'm following the car by gliding gently down from cloud level, catching the thermals off the highway and keeping pace in a lazy 100-mile-long soar. I'd land and meet up with the car I'm following at rest stops, because flying for that kind of distance has to be at least a little exhausting. A verbal zinger that leaves the target speechless and results in a standing ovation from common passerby. Well, the jerk store called and they're all out of you. What's the difference? You're their all-time bestseller. I don't know if this qualifies as a being rich thing, but for years I've wanted to own a KitchenAid. I just want to mix stuff. Edit, to all the people asking if I've started saving and whatnot, I've had a weird couple of months, and just last week finally got an apartment after being homeless for a little while. First order of business is to get some furniture. Right now I've got a mattress and a table and a 13-tube TV, that's it. But eventually I'll get that sexy mixing beast. It's not that great, and once you have it, you still can't afford the sausage-making attachment, which is all I really wanted anyway. Mo money, mo problems. I feel you. I like my KitchenAid, but deep in my heart I lust for the pasta rolling attachment. I'm looking forward to the post where some random Redditor sends you a KitchenAid mixer. P.S. It won't be me, sorry, waking up one morning and being 10 years old again. Except, I would know everything that I know now. I often imagine how I would react. Would I tell anyone I know how the next 12 years will go? Will anyone believe me? Should it be a secret? How much will the butterfly effect play out? If I did expose my knowledge, could I stop 9/11? Expose fraudulent bankers? If I didn't expose my knowledge, could I win big money gambling? Could I be the youngest ever college graduate? Could I steal IP from actors, artists, singers of the future? What choices of my life could I make differently to make my life better? So much to think about. Edit, as at least a dozen people have suggested, Replay by Ken Grimwood is a book that is based on this concept. Doing some kind of physical labor, building something or some shit. My fucking life is like Office Space. I thought working in an office would be sweet. Fuck no. How does one become a master woodworker? I'm only like a level 32. First prestige. Edit. Damn. This blew up. Some of these comments are crazy, I should clarify. I want to design and build furniture, not carry cement blocks on my back in the snow and rain. I can build basic furniture, but I just don't have the time and resources to take it to the next level. But this has inspired me to make more of an effort to get in the position to. I've done outdoor manual labor all through my summers in school, and it sucks. I agree. I'm not saying working in an office isn't easier, but sending 200 emails and making 100 phone calls a day to make money for a company that you are nothing but a number to isn't in any way fulfilling. I respect what all you roughnecks do, no need to get offended. Always one to plug this. Check your area for a hackerspace. It's basically a community workshop type place. They have classes teaching all sorts of things. Storage to keep tools and materials, public tools, and they teach the use of them. All sorts of things, really. I just took a class on casting metal, not stage, that was so incredibly cool. There is a fee to join, but it's not prohibitive, at least in my area, and it's totally worth it. If you want to learn, but don't have the money to buy your own tools, or even know which ones to get, this is the place to start. Edit, I replied with this link down below, but I'm plopping it here too. If you are in Houston and interested in the Houston hackerspace, drop me a PM. Traveling to distant star systems, unlimited telekinetics that have to be developed and practiced. I dream of it, so one day I will reach the literal level of a mortal god, being financially stable enough to own a dog. I've lived and bonded with other people's pets for a few years, but I can't help but feel like I'm missing out on some special connection you get by being a pet owner. I want a dog so much, but I'm too tight with money to afford one. Good on you to know this. I know people that have gotten pets. totally neglected when they realized they couldn't afford them. Seriously, I know people who do that with kids. The fact that you admit this to yourself seems an indicator to me that you would be a good pet owner. You're being practical about how to provide for your pet, which is not something everyone does. I hope you are in a situation to get one someday, my friend. Growing and processing tea. I am enamored with the idea of gathering leaves, bruising them, letting them age, dry, and all the things you can do to change the flavor really gets me going. Also, the prospect of all that tea gets me excited too. I really like tea, maybe to an unhealthy degree. I know you're not supposed to cry over spilled tea, but it's just so sad. This isn't tea. This is hot leaf water. Zuko, uncle, that's what tea is. How could a member of my own family say such a thing? Leaves from the vine. Oh, fuck. You can't handle this shit right now. I really like tea, maybe to an unhealthy degree. Tea manufacturing rap artist. This is a lovely fantasy. Being in a band, headlining festivals and playing to huge crowds singing your own lyrics back at you. Would be heaven. Not like big city, tourist travel either, but something more adventurous. I'm not even a big fan of fishing, but sometimes I dream I'm out on an adventure. In an episode of River Monsters with Jeremy Wade, the places that guy goes and the people he meets are just awesome. Running away. I think about it often. Imagine myself hitchhiking across country for no reason other than I'm bored and I really want an adventure. I've always wanted to explore Canada. Mind if I join you? Ballet been in it for 20 years and it moves and mesmerizes me each time. I fantasize about being a prima ballerina. My daydreams haven't changed much since I was 6. I fantasize that in the afterlife, there will be an almanac of my life for me to peruse, with highlights, reels of everything. How many miles did I drive? How many people did I meet? What was my Kevin Bacon number? How many times did I make the trash can when throwing garbage in from across the room? How many people thought about me sexually? How many Sudoku puzzles did I finish? So every time I wonder something like, wow, I wonder how many times I've driven down this road, I tell myself that it will be in the almanac, and I'll find out someday. Wow, writing that out makes me realize how weird it sounds. This is genius. I would add though, that I'd also like to have a look in some other people's almanacs. You masturbate more than anyone else in the world, like on Robot Chicken. How many dumps did I take while on Earth? How many pounds is that? If I took all the dumps I ever took and turned them into bricks and stacked them to make a wall 6 feet high, how long would that wall be? I love how that question gets kicked out of heaven. And then he's sitting in a hot tub in hell and Satan goes, 27 miles? That's awesome. I know, right? I often fantasize about waking up next to a girl I love, in an apartment I like, and walking to a job I feel proud of. It's 12 hours of walking. You just really like walking. I constantly fantasize about getting a job I feel was worth 5 years in college. I've been balls deep in the job hunt for 5 months now, and it's a fucking nightmare. Thankfully, I'm finally starting to get phone interviews. And I have my first real interview on Wednesday. Still, it's not directly what I went to school for. It's relatively low paying, and it's too close to home to be fun. I have another phone interview soon for a company, the job of which is 100 applicable to my degree. I spent an hour today researching the town and finding the plant on Google Maps and fantasizing about working there and living in the town. I found a road my fiancé and I might live on, a restaurant we might eat at. I even found the local Walmart. Basically, job hunting for this long makes you batshit fucking crazy. Keep focus on perspective. 5 months is not a long time to find a career job. Remember, the better the job, the harder than it to get, especially right out of school and without connections. Tell yourself you're doing fine and not at all outside the normal distribution poisson of time to find a good job. Jesus Christ. This just hit the nail on the head for me. Being the hero who stops the crazed gunman, saves everyone, and wins the affection of my dream girl. I never fantasize about getting rich. I fantasize about quitting my job to travel and hike. My fantasy will be a reality soon. Killing people I don't like. Hey, you asked. Well, some medieval methods of enforcing compliance do cross my mind while dealing with certain co-workers. So I guess I can relate. Living on a boat again. Had a 38 liveaboard that I lived on for a year and I miss boat life. Going back in time and being able to live my life from. say age 13, with the knowledge that I have now. That'd be sweet. A big bank heist. Okay, here is the plan. I put together a 7-man crew. We all learn some basic Russian and do our best to convincingly fake the accent. I acquire one of those IR communications jammers. You know, the one that there was a whole fuss about. They could allow police to turn off all cell phones in a certain radius so no one could film or make a call, for that matter. I obtained 5 assault rifles with 3 drum mags of FMJ ammo each, 2 or 12 shotguns, 1 Beowulf 50 CAL, a few pounds of C4 and a lot of bleach to destroy all DNA. Also 2 getaway cars. Of course, I now have everything I need to actually rob the bank. Now I need a distraction. I get an extra crew member to monitor police scanners and call in a bomb treat. We park a truck packed with a huge fertilizer bomb in a secluded area. Then we call in a bomb treat on primary school on the other side of town. Then we call in bomb threats on 2 relatively secluded areas, one of which being the area without fertilizer bomb. All areas as far away from each other as possible. Now everything is ready. We drive towards the bank in a white van. As we approach, I reminds everyone, no Dutch. My friend then proceeds to make a MW2 reference, which bothers me to a great extent. Our 6th crew member calls in the bomb threats while driving using a cheap disposable cell phone. A different one for each call. First the school. This should have police rushing to scene. Next, we call in a bomb threat to a place close to the construction area. We detonate the bomb as soon as we enter the bank. And a few minutes later, call in another bomb threat. The police will at this point be running around like headless chickens all over the 3 designated areas. I'd imagine. As we enter the bank, we activate our IR jammer and scream in Russian before starting to speak in English with a heavy Russian vodka accent. I say, ladies and gentlemen, you do not need to worry. All your money is insured and you won't be inconvenienced by us any more than needed if you just shut up and don't try to be a hero. No one wants their father to bury them tomorrow, right? We get the manager to open up the vault holding a gun to and preferably an attractive female employee's head. 2 of us enter the vault and take everything that's not bolted down. 2 of us watch the employees and costumers, and 1 of us goes to the security room armed with an .or-12 shotgun to take all the hard drives and put them in the microwave. Once we have all we need, we lock everyone inside the vault and put bleach all over the damn place. We give them a cell phone to call for help once we're gone. We obviously leave the jammer there and set the timer to a couple of hours, so by the time they can call for someone to let them out, we'll be long gone. We drive to an underground garage, change our clothes on the way there and torch the van once we get there. We step into our getaway vehicle and drive out of the Netherlands into Germany. I will have a guy set up there to smuggle and launder the money. From there, we travel to separate airports in groups of 2 and all take flights to different destinations. From those different airports, we all travel to a common final destination without extradition treaties, to the EU, where our money will be waiting for us. I should do this so I can frame you. My friend then proceeds to make a MW2 reference, which bothers me to a great extent. Lol, your fantasies are very specific. PS, Welk Bank, meeting the perfect girl and get married. I do this a lot when I go out to restaurants. If I see a really cute girl, I'll just fantasize about getting married and raising kids together. Makes me happy. This is extremely relevant. This made me unusually depressed. I can relate so much. Having friends, especially a best friend, cleverly telling off people who are assholes in public so they feel bad about themselves. Having a 6-pack. Every night I try and go to sleep, but end up planning out conversations I plan on having. I do that with conversation fights that will never occur. I just want people to be happy to see me. I want to be that guy that everyone says, damn, I can't wait until Znerdix Realist gets here. Then things will be more fun. Being in a commercial airliner crash and escaping unscathed. Jesus man, that would be the ultimate one. Upper. In my head, I'm the hardest motherfucker alive. I regularly fantasize about beating the shit out of people. I can't count the number of times I've saved the world or saved lives in my head. I definitely don't take shit from anyone in my mind. Waden doesn't take shit from anyone. Not even a 5-year-old. Waden beating the shit out of toddlers and the elderly. Waden heard a knock on his door one day. He opened it, only to be greeted by the sight of a freckled 12-year-old girl. She was selling Christmas wrapping paper so her class could go on a field trip to Valley Forge. She asked if he would like to help her class by purchasing some. He said, "Why don't you go fuck yourself?" Instead, to the little girl, and threw his remaining can of Pabst Blue Ribbon in her face. Not only did he not buy any wrapping paper, but he sent a bill to the girl's parents for the beer. True story. In my head, you are the hardest motherfucker alive too. I think about it constantly. I imagine we have a small conflict at a gas station, like I accidentally stepped on your new Jordans or something. And it leads into you beating the shit OUF of me and me regretting my decision to keep it real. Owning a comic shop and tossing out dickish customers. Get out of here. Y.A. Kirk, Love and Spock, suckers. One of these days I'll open a comic shop and a coffee joint in the same space. To me, it seems genius. People buy comics, sit in chairs or on a couch, and enjoy a cup of coffee, playing soccer at an international level. When I'm on the elliptical, I'm usually fantasizing about sprinting across an open field, catching up to a ball deftly passed just a few feet in front of me, reaching the very corner of the goalie box and chipping it over to my teammate for the header. I mean, I often dream of scoring too, but I was a right midfielder, and most of my high school and cup and travel career, I was in charge of serving up the perfect shot to my teammate. Leaning out of the passenger side window of a moving vehicle with a katana in my hand, chopping down mailboxes as I ride past. I fantasize about superpowers and the characters who wield them. I wish it was my full-time job. How? How is this so far down here? Definitely a zombie apocalypse. It is the perfect way to burn through time when you work 12-hour shifts. The strange part of it is that, when picturing the end of days, I usually spend time fantasizing about how efficient I would be at fortifying my compound and organizing my supplies. It's almost more rewarding than imagining the zombified deaths of people I dislike. Yeah, for some reason I have this recurring dream of the zombie apocalypse. It's terrifying and fucking awesome all at once. I always get caught up deciding what I'd wear in a zombie apocalypse. There isn't any point fighting zombies if you don't look, fly. Mine is just a regular apocalypse. The road type situation, except maybe minus the ash and soot, cause that's very undesirable. I daydream about spending an entire day just going wherever I want, doing whatever I want. My wife is disabled and requires constant company. It's been 6 years or so since I've been able to just go out and enjoy a day. I can dream. I would like to encourage you to consider taking some time for yourself. There are places you can hire someone skilled or unskilled for respite care. Maybe you could save up for it gradually. There is nothing wrong with taking some time for yourself. You've earned it and you will return refreshed. You're a good man. Hey, I just want to say I'm glad that you stuck by your wife. Not everybody can devote to that level, especially if there was an accident. And she wasn't always that way. It must have been difficult. Mine is kind of similar. 2 daughters with muscular dystrophy. One passed away a few years ago, the other one requires around-the-clock care and is ventilator dependent. Luckily, we fought hard enough to get her on Medicaid and she has nursing. If a nurse can't make it for whatever reason, it's my husband and/or me that take over everything. I always wonder what it would be like to have a normal family with 5 healthy kids, and knowing I will never have that makes me kind of sad sometimes. The other thing that I fantasize about is to have a body nice enough to be able to wear a bikini. Having kids fucked up my stomach something horrible. Like this shit needs a tummy tuck horrible. Yeah, I knew I'd find disabled family members on this list. I'd like to have a conversation with my oldest son. He's 10, about to turn 11, and he can't speak or communicate very well with signs or pictures. I have a lot of things I want to tell him about. I tell him anyway. Of course, but it would be nice to know if some of it was getting through. I've been in a relationship for over a decade. In the last few years of that, we've been married. I long ago lost the teenager fantasy of 2 beautiful women coming up to me on the street and saying they wanted me to come back to their apartment and have a threesome. I'm too committed to my wife for that one. But I do fantasize that the women come up to me and ask. Then I point out that I'm married. But I have a buddy who I know they'd love, and I bet he can be here in just a minute. Then I hook them up with my friend, and he owes me beers forever. Teal. Marriage changes basic fantasies from those about sex to those about drinking. Being me, but being different. Like, I'm a short, chubby white girl with glasses who wears the graphic shirts with the CM thick glasses and the unruly hair, and I like who I am. But sometimes, I like to imagine I'm an awesome hot girl, tall, a healthy UK size 12 with smooth caramel skin, bark brown, beautiful curly hair, full lips with black eyes. Damn, imaginary me is hot. Pahaha. I used to fantasize about this, too, but even fantasies lose allure. So I decided that I am okay being the awkward, elbowy, quite tall, non-white girl, nappy hair, who wears sports t-shirts and tennis shoes. You are definitely some guy's fantasy. To be sure, I'm a straight male who has imagined what it would be like to be an insanely hot girl, not for any odd or sexual reason, but purely for the fact that everyone pays attention to you and worships the ground you walk on. To answer my own question, I save the world on a regular basis. My kids growing up happy and healthy and feeling like I was always there for them. I didn't win the parental lottery myself, and I don't want my kids to end up feeling that way. I often think about what I could be doing better as a parent, imagining a world where Pokemon are real and I'm the champion. I come out to badass music like in pro wrestling. This is the answer I was looking for. I spend so much time just imagining a world where Pokemon are real, not even being champion, just going on a Pokemon adventure with my best friends. It's so fulfilling. Then I remember it won't happen. So I've come to believe that when I die, I'm really just faking my death and going to the Pokemon world to begin my adventure. Maybe that's what heaven is. Who knows? Building a little Thoreau-esque cabin in the woods and escaping it all. It occupies 90 of my thoughts. Living forever. Dying's no fun. I'll either be alive forever or be dead forever. Might as well hold on as long as I can. You should check out a film called The Man from Earth. It's basically about a man that claims to be 14.0 years old, telling his story. Most of the film's set in one room with him talking, which sounds crap. I know, but it's awesome. And some of the points raised in it really make you think. Most of those who are born immortal instinctively know how to cope with it, but Wowbagger was not one of them. Indeed, he had come to hate them, the load of serene bastards. He had his immortality inadvertently thrust upon him by an unfortunate accident with an irrational particle accelerator, a liquid lunch, and a pair of rubber bands. The precise details are not important because no one has ever managed to duplicate the exact circumstances under which it happened. And many people have ended up looking very silly or dead, or both, trying. To begin with, it was fun. He had a ball living dangerously, taking risks, cleaning up on high-yield, long-term investments, and just generally outliving the hell out of everybody. In the end, it was Sunday afternoons he couldn't cope with, and that terrible listlessness that starts to set in at about 2:55 when you know you've taken all the baths you can usefully take that day, that however hard you stare at any given paragraph in the newspaper, you will never actually read it. Or use the revolutionary new pruning technique. It describes, and that as you stare at the clock, the hands will move relentlessly onto 4 o'clock, and you will enter the long, dark tea time of the soul. So things began to pall for him. The merry smiles he used to wear at other people's funerals began to fade. He began to despise the universe in general, and everybody in it in particular. This was the point at which he conceived his purpose, the thing that would drive him on, and which, as far as he could see, would drive him on forever. It was this. He would insult the universe. That is, he would insult everybody in it, individually, personally, one by one. And this was the thing he really decided to grit his teeth over in alphabetical order. When people protested to him, as they sometimes had done, that the plan was not merely misguided, but actually impossible because of the number of people being born and dying all the time, he would merely fix them with a steely look and say, "A man can dream. Can't he?" Cuddling. It's kind of depressing, but I think I fantasize about cuddling more than sex. Affection feels nicer than lust. Go out and make it happen. Friend. Being in a crappy emo band and playing house shows until I get too old and settle down. Edit. Obligatory, oh my god, gold. But seriously, never in a million years did I expect this. Rock on. Fools. And check out Spider Mansion, who I've never met but seems pretty cool. Sounds like the most boring fantasy ever. Well, I mean, I'll be in a band, but we'll suck. Getting off of work early. All the time. It never really does happen. Karma. I imagine all the people that screwed me over in life being miserable. Just once I would like to show the world that you don't need a reason to help someone. Fire? Robbery? Doesn't matter. I daydream constantly about putting my life on the line for those I love and those I don't know. How heroic I would be, or think I would be. I'd save them from something, anything. And when they were safe and thanking their God they had another day, I would just walk the fuck off. Just like that. I want to be a hero so bad. Overthrowing the government and becoming a benevolent dictator of the new Socialist Democratic People's Republic of Liberated California, the NSPRLC. I also frequently dream of leading a resistance against my government. But when I win, I don't know what to do. Taking my parents out for dinner. When I start earning, ditching all my responsibilities for a life at sea, holding the world hostage, like a supervillain terrorist, pinky to mouth, turning into a dragonman and flying around breathing fire and shooting lasers from my guitar. My favorite football team Arsenal signing promising and talented players. Yeah, don't talk about it. Did you see that ludicrous display last night? One of these promising and talented players must also be me. I frequently imagine of scoring a winning goal versus Spurs in the final game of the season, stripping the PL title from Man United and relegating the Spurs. Politicians in orange jumpsuits walking the prison yard. That's called Illinois State Penitentiary, bud. Finding and adopting an abandoned puppy or kitten. I adopted my calico from a shelter and plan to adopt a puppy in the fall, but I still fantasize about finding one on my own, snuggling, and getting actual sleep. Actually, getting an actual good night's sleep with snuggling spooning with someone. Stopping a shooter or attempted mass murderer at work or school. Usually involves some crazy Rambo moves and being way more of a badass than I actually am. Being a Pokemon master or a Zed fighter. Hell, I'd settle for being Ash or Yanka. Being able to freeze time and then into an alternate reality where small middle-aged Asian women want to give me back massages. Getting good enough at guitar to play a live show for my friends. High fantasy shit. I just want to hang out with a dragon. I just wish my wife wouldn't be leaving me and would come back to me. Being a mech pilot in a badass mech war. Or being a kick-ass chill-step artist. Having superpowers and using them to extort the world. Holding hands with someone. Sigh. Starting over. Getting to go back to age 4 or 5 and getting to relive my life with all the knowledge I have accumulated since then. I would do so many things differently. Moving out of Phoenix, Arizona. Lived here too long. And the fact that I get sunburned in about 10 minutes of being outside doesn't help. Somewhat realistically, becoming internet famous or at least moderately successful for blogging and YouTube. Though I don't currently do anything worth being famous for on YouTube. Impossibly, shrinking to the height of a couple inches and living out my life as a tiny, borrower-sized person. I admittedly fantasize about jumping into a pile of unwrapped Reese's cups that have filled the entirety of my basement time and time again. I fantasize about what I would do and what I would need to survive in post-apocalyptic scenarios. Helps me to fall asleep every night. The girl that I like acknowledging me. Having a group of friends to hang around with. Or even one friend. Being able to teleport to the other side of the world, where my girlfriend lives, and then using said teleportation powers to get rich and establish my own supernation to rival China and the US. I have rather grandiose fantasies. Also space travel. Being a student at Hogwarts. Enough warm, fresh peach cobbler to eat forever. Alongside an endless tub of vanilla ice cream. Wolverine claws. I always make large slashing motions when I'm alone and pretend that I have Wolverine claws. I am 23. I fantasize about being able to punch people through electronics. Seriously, that would be my superpower. Fuck invisibility or flying. I just want to sucker punch the crap out of people through a TV or phone. Owning my own coffee shop in my hometown. Might sound dumb to some, but it's something that I really want. I want that kind of place that people go to where you can chill out. Have some coffee or tea, and just talk with a bunch of your friends. Maybe read the paper while eating a corn muffin. I don't know. Playing music in front of a crowd of thousands of people, all cheering my name and my lyrics along with me. I wouldn't care if I got any money from it. I'm always inventing things in my head. Mostly things that are scientifically implausible. But if real, would be the next big thing. My favorite is the anti-resistor. Instead of putting electricity in and converting it to heat, it directly converts heat to electricity. Even if it wasn't particularly efficient even in my fantasies, it isn't. It would have hundreds of uses. Also, I envision myself taking over particular industries, like somehow acquiring a small, failing car company and turning it around to dominate the market. I come up with half a dozen different models in my head, complete with options, prices, and ad campaigns. I've done it with the cellular industry, not just phones, but the carrier model, healthcare industry, and educational sector. I've also fixed the as government economy dozens of times, shooting lightning out of my hands, being a well-known author, fans writing letters to me regarding their love for my stories, maybe even a TV show or film adaptation to them, making a living out of people getting enjoyment from my work. That would be amazing. I fantasize all the time about leaving the city and living in the country. I fantasize about throwing away all my bullshit electronics and living as a minimalist. My boyfriend lives 300 miles away. I fantasize about being able to read together so we don't have to choose between enjoying our books and keeping in touch. Spiritual enlightenment and what it feels like. I really want to surf. This fantasy should be doable. Try it next time you're at the beach. It's usually fairly cheap to rent a board, and a lot of places do group lessons that don't cost much. I did it one summer and had a blast. I fantasize a lot about killing my neighbor Terry. Terry is a cunt, having access to random stats, charts, and images about everything. I mean everything. I'd pay to see a vat with every piece of feces I ever excreted. There'd be different layers where the more dense turds sunk below the diarrhea. Or is it the other way around? It'd be fascinating. Who doesn't want to know the exact number of times you've cracked a knuckle? For example, punching slow walking people in the back of the head, or people that don't stand on the right when you're trying to walk down an escalator, or people that stand in the middle of the doors to the subway so people have a hard time getting off the train. Same thing with elevators. Also people that drive the wrong way down a one-way street or run red lights. Emptying the lint catcher. Life in a post-apocalypse world. Man, you guys are boring. I live in the city, and there are lots of birds, pigeons, doves, crows, etc. I fantasize about what it'd be like to squeeze each bird I see. You know, I think some would feel sturdy and solid, but pigeons, they look soft. I just want to get them in my hands and apply some pressure. You know, being able to control people's minds. Just to sit there after someone pisses you off and making them shit their pants in front of a large group of people. In the scenario specifically, you get to embarrass them and enjoy a nice poop. I like to imagine myself suddenly being thrown back to age 6, but retaining most, if not all, of my current knowledge. Homework would be so easy, and I'd be wiser than all my peers. Traveling the world without worrying about money or my safety. After watching Life of Pi and Kon-Tiki, I would like to go out in the ocean too. I imagine having a submarine with a place on top where it stays above water so I can have that lonely out in the ocean feel while knowing that I'm safe. Having a job. Every time I go to an interview, I always request that they send me an email to tell me if I didn't get the job. And I usually spend the next few days after the interview. Imagine how great it would be to work there. All the things I need to buy, if I had the money, and how I could finally start making friends and having a social life and doing recreational activities and, well, every time I get that email saying I didn't get the job, it's quite shitty. Anyway, it's all a lot better in my mind than it really would be, I'm sure. The job would be shitty, since these are minimum wage crap places I'm applying. The pay would barely cover the most basic bills, so I still wouldn't have spending money. And my total lack of social skills won't change, so I won't exactly be able to make friends even if I did have the money. So, it's all much better than it really would be, the way I imagine it. I frequently fantasize about educating historical figures on our modern world and witnessing their bewilderment and wonder. I guess in this scenario, I've somehow invented a time machine, and I go back and grab these people just for fun. I usually have to loan them my dad's clothes. I am female and sometimes have to figure out how to communicate with them if they didn't speak English. Some characters have been Einstein, Abe Lincoln, Socrates, the Apostle Paul, and Shakespeare. I almost cried when I imagined telling Lincoln, we have a black president, becoming a superstar soccer or tennis player, living in a house in the woods on a mountain with 1 or 2 Malamutes, writing novels that nobody will read, chopping firewood, and building things. Ninja Edit, I also fantasize about being immortal, eternally youthful, just so that I can learn every language, musical instrument, and martial art. About being a badass warrior in the medieval ages. I fantasize about talking to various interesting people, living and dead. A particular favorite scenario is appearing to someone who really contributed to humanity but was unappreciated during their life. Van Gogh, Schubert, Babbage well. He tried and so forth in the minutes before they die to tell them about the impact their work will eventually have. Having someone who cares about me aside from family. As a Civil War reenactor, I always fantasize about that after every reenactment. I miss the smell of burnt powder, the shouting of officer, the crack of a rifle and thunder of a cannon. It's just something to me that makes my life a lot easier to get through a day.